Tonight, as government prepares to soon announce its decision on the vendor country to build the country's first nuclear plant, we will delve into this particular quest because the announcement will also make known the type of nuclear power technology the country decides on to address its energy poverty and fulfill a global obligation of transitioning to cleaner energy. Already, the discussion to go nuclear has been received with mixed reactions of both fear and excitement. But what does it really entail? How safe or dangerous is this energy source? This and many, many more questions will be answered by my guest, the very competent director at the Nuclear Power Institute of the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, Professor Seth Debra. Prof, you're welcome to UPfront.
Thank you very much, Ray.
I hope you are doing well this day.
By grace as well.
You are not reactive, right?
Well, most of the times, let's put it that way.
I mean, it's perhaps a very dangerous answer. Let's start from this point because it's perhaps people's biggest fear about this. Is there any difference at all? Is there any difference between what many people consider to be nuclear energy and nuclear weapons? So what I'm seeking to say is Ghana in any way building nuclear weapons?
Thank you very much, Ray. So there is a big difference between what we call a nuclear power plant that produces nuclear energy and nuclear weapons, a very big difference. Ghana is in no way building a nuclear weapon. It doesn't intend to build a nuclear weapon. Actually, it has signed on to what we call the Non-Proliferation Treaty under the UN that is managed by the International Atomic Energy Agency. So Ghana in no way will build a nuclear weapon. Actually, we subscribe to what we call atoms for peace. That's atom for peaceful uses. Now, the main difference between the weapon and the nuclear power plant, and the nuclear power plant can never become a weapon in this way. Now, a weapon is supposed to be destructive, and you don't control a reaction. I'm sure when we go through what a nuclear power plant is, we will be able to properly understand what these two main things are.
I guess I have to then move to that point quickly. So what then is a nuclear power plant?
Okay, so a nuclear power plant generates what we call energy, basically. Now, how do we do this? For you to have energy, you need to either break or you need to fuse some things to actually make energy. So I use petrol, for example. Petrol is just made out of carbon chains. So as you break the carbon chains up, you release energy, and that's what drives whatever automotive vehicle or whatever we have. Now, for nuclear power plants, what we are doing is we are breaking up the atoms that is embedded in a fuel. So again, just like petrol, just like gas, we are just breaking things up to bring up its energy, and then we use the energy to propel what we call turbines, or usually turbines, and then you have electricity running. So there is some commonalities between a nuclear power plant and, let's say, a thermal power plant or other power plants.
So we in the Republic of Ghana,
Yes.
We've had power plants.
Yes.
We've had many of them. We've had the power plants that we have brought into the country, and we've had from the Americas all through to what we currently engage. And we have thermal plants in the Republic of Ghana too.
True.
You're saying that there is some similarity between a nuclear power plant
Yes.
and the other power plants that we do.
Yes.
Apart from both generating energy or, let's say, electricity, you know, when we say it breaks things up to generate things, what rings in my mind is it blows things up too.
Okay.
So yeah.
So when I say you need to break something up to make up energy. When you eat, your body don't just take the food. It needs to break it down.
Okay.
To get the energy out of the food. Same thing for the nuclear power plant. Same thing for a gas power plant. Same thing for other power plants except hydro. Okay. So there is a form of breaking down to get energy, or a form of fusing to actually get energy. When you take the thermal power plants, there are parts that are equivalent or similar to what you have in a nuclear power plant. The only difference in the nuclear power plant when you take the thermal and the nuclear power plant is that of how the heat is generated. And that's the only difference. The rest are basically or mostly the same.
Okay. Now, because, I mean, the more varied this is from what we are known or we are used to, the more concerning it will be for some people. That's why when you brought about the similarity part, I sure should be able to point it out. Now, the germane question here is that why are we considering adding nuclear power into the energy mix? Why do we want, of all the options available to the world, of all the words and names that are not dangerous and sounding a bit problematic to many people, why nuclear?
I would say, why not nuclear? Now, we've seen so many countries actually use nuclear to their benefit in terms of their progression of the economy. A typical example would be South Korea.
Okay.
Now, if you think you have more sun, more wind than UAE, more oil than UAE, I think we should begin to clap for ourselves as a country. But UAE is building nuclear power plants. Why are they doing that? You need to expand the economy. You ask yourself...
the biggest oil producers.
Oh, yes. Yeah. They built 4 nuclear power plants, 3 working now.
Okay.
And other coming online end of this year. So why are they doing that? You need to expand the economy. Why do we think the SDG didn't work? The SDG didn't work because it didn't have energy at the central point. And that's why when the MDGs came on board, it took energy as one of the key issues to actually propel whatever you need to, or the achievement of the MDGs. So energy has become so central to everything.
The MDGs did not work, the SDGs.
The SDGs, yes, you are right. So there's that way around. Now, there is the issue. You will need a certain source of energy that is consistent, that is dense, that is always available. Because if today, Ray, I tell you, can you wait for 2 hours to iron your shirt? You will tell ECG you are not serious. Yes, there's one of the issues. You will tell Gridco guys, you guys are not serious. You tell BRA,
me from this
exactly the point.
I'm too late
so the issue is this: you need something that is always available as a base load. And we have finished almost all our hydro resources, our potential hydro resource. And the economists will tell you, if we are doing hydro today from the small hydro resources that we have, like Pualugu, and we don't add irrigation to it, basically it doesn't make any economic sense to build it. Okay. So we need a certain power source that we call base load to hold on, and then we build the others on it, like solar, like wind. They have their places. But if you want to go ahead and develop as a major power block within this sub-region, I think nuclear is the way to go. Either you go nuclear or you go coal, which coal you don't really want.
I'll come to where in Africa they have done this because it's an important point. Who are we learning from within our peers? Or who are we spearheading this conversation with? But there's also a point that ought to be highlighted. When I asked the why nuclear, are there other options? Are there other options that do not sound like a very dangerous element in the minds of people? Are there other options that doesn't have any atomic or nuclear, those things in it?
Okay, I will answer that question, but let me ask you this. Everybody works under the sun. Are you hurt in any way? No, we are not hurt. But would you believe me when I say the sun is a nuclear reactive element within the solar system? So the sun gives off...
Okay, so I mean... You're not saying that we get the same effect from the sun like the nuclear bombs have been doing to people?
That's a nuclear bomb. We are not talking about nuclear bomb. We are talking about nuclear power plants.
So I think consistently, that's why I want you to always draw the line for me.
Okay.
Yes.
So there is a clear... We are not doing a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
It's never a nuclear bomb. We are beyond that.
Can it be misapplied to do
It cannot be misapplied.
What are the safeguards to ensure we never change our minds? So that tomorrow we have a dictator president who changes his mind and says that I no longer want a plant, I want it to do a bomb. Can we do that?
To actually have a bomb, you need a means of deployment, right?
We can't have that.
No, I'm just asking you need a means of deployment.
Yeah,
because this cannot be deployed.
Oh, okay, I get
your point. And if even you want to deploy it, you can't, because there is a system in the control systems, what we call engineered systems, where a certain temperature exceeded will automatically shut the system down. Where a certain pressure exceeded, will automatically shut the system down. So there are what we call engineered systems within the nuclear power plant that the operator or whoever is in charge cannot override.
Okay, I get you.
So these are safety features that are embedded in the system.
Now, I was asking about whether that's the only solution worth considering. Is that our only alternative on the table now?
If Ghana wants to actually develop as a powerhouse within the sub-region and in Africa, and with the introduction of AFTA, then nuclear is the way to go. We cannot more waste time. We started this 1960 somewhere.
Oh, I see. It's not recent.
It's not recent. We have relaxed because we had rainfall, and then we go back and say, yeah, let's relax. We have behaved like the vulture for a very long time. Whenever the rain stops, we say, oh, we are going to build our house. And then the rains come again, and then we are found wanting. When the rains come, we are going to build a house, and then the rain stops, we are found wanting. So we have done this over and over again, and in 2015, we restarted this. And in the history of Ghana, in the history of the sub-region, no country has ever gone beyond where we have gotten to because we are following a phased approach. The International Atomic Energy Agency phased approach. So we have gone beyond phase 1 and in phase 2, where we are looking to have a vendor that will give us a plant.
Let's slow it down here. So it's not as if we are opening up a conversation at the marketplace and asking people to join a national referendum on whether or not to go nuclear. We're already in one phase down.
We are one phase down as a country.
We've moved beyond that conversation.
We've moved beyond whether
we like it or not, we will get nuclear.
It's not whether we like it or not, we will get nuclear. We need the populace to go with us.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah, because we need the public buy-in of this power plant. We've been holding a lot of discussions on nuclear, not just now, but even from 2015, we've been holding a lot of discussions.
Recently, I heard ISE do a survey about nuclear power. I was interested because I was interested in the responses that they were putting out there.
Yeah.
So is that part of the engagement that's been happening?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so that's interesting.
Just a bit of what ISE did. It will interest you to know that industries, over 92% of industry players in this country wants nuclear established within this country.
So who are the industry players anyway?
So you talk about AGI.
Oh, okay.
So mostly AGI members.
The big people.
The big people.
Who can buy themselves protection.
Oh, yes.
They are the people who want the nuclear.
You can also buy yourself protection.
No, I'm just asking about because, with the ordinary people who may be living near a nuclear plant, when it blows up, that question is very key to people.
How many nuclear power plants have blown up ever since the construction?
But this is the Republic of Ghana. Fuel stations blow up all the time.
That is true, but you see, nuclear power plant has a certain characteristic that whether it's in Ghana, it's in Pakistan, it's in Germany, it's in the UK, you follow the same standard.
Not the Ghanaian standard.
Not the Ghanaian standard.
No, we are very unique people.
In fact, every country is unique.
Okay, yeah.
So if I ask you or I mention a country like Pakistan, what comes into your mind?
Yeah, starving people who are suffering they are mostly fighting India. It might not be reflecting the reality on the ground.
True.
Because I know a lot of Pakistanis in the UK.
True.
The way.
So this is the issue. Pakistan has 4 power plants.
Nuclear
Power plants. And the way they operate...
Not for sinister purposes.
Not for sinister purposes, for power purposes.
I see.
Pakistan has a lot of textile industries.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. And how do you think they got there? You need cheap energy to get there. And they are getting cheap energy from nuclear power plants. So it's not a matter of how Ghana does its things. It's a matter of what is the standard in the industry.
I see. So we can't alter those standards.
It's not
We can't act below the standards.
Nope.
We can't have a Ghanaian standard that's substandard anyway.
Nope.
All right, so there's a point I need to ask you. We have always discussed our energy mix. We have always consistently talked about our landscape and the thinking we want to do going into the future. Has it always been our vision to put nuclear on that table?
As I told you, from 1960. So when Nkrumah cut the sword for the hydropower plant, 900 megawatts hydropower plant, the idea was to have nuclear follow.
Okay.
So if you read Nkrumah's 7-year plan, it's clearly there. Nuclear is actually mentioned.
Yeah, but there are so many wonderful things in Kuma thought of that we don't do today.
Oh, well, we are going back to it.
That's interesting anyway.
So,
yeah.
there is it. When you look at the energy transition plan that the Ministry of Energy did just recently and launched, you see nuclear over there.
Oh, I see.
When you go back and see what they call the energy, they used to have a certain document, policy document that they were following at the Ministry of Energy before the transition plan. And you see nuclear in there. So nuclear has always been in the conversation. It's not that we just rose up today and say, hey, let's go nuclear. No.
I was reading a report from 2008 where there was a presidential commission also done some work on that. I was interested in that because because many may have heard for the first time or even now hearing about Ghana's plans for nuclear, I was particularly interested in how far we'll be having conversations on this. True. So do we have a deficit in terms of energy? Is that why we are asking for nuclear?
Currently we don't have a deficit in terms of energy.
Because government talks about excess capacity all the time.
That is true, but as a physicist, as an engineer, I will take it this way. If I give you a bowl of soup to take, and let's say you have to consume one bowl to be full, and I give you half a bowl, do you have excess?
No.
No. Why am I saying this? Your access to electricity is around 80 or close to 90%. Let me put it that way, or 85%. And access is when we have the grid going through your area, not when electricity is connected to your house.
Oh, okay.
So when you look at it carefully, let's say everybody has electricity connected, the 82 plus, everybody has electricity connected. What about the others? The 18%. So how are you having excess capacity? When you have industries, when you have hotels switching from electricity or from the grid to their generators, just to get out of a certain bandwidth of tariff.
That's interesting. I mean, government will not certainly be happy with you, but I mean, that's interesting.
But that's the truth.
That's the reality. I've not heard anybody analyze it in this way before, because all that I hear consistently is that there's excess. There's no need for more. We are already home and dry. We are actually selling some, or we are actually paying for some that we are not even using. That's the only conversation that's happening in the Republic of Ghana.
But you see, there's also another issue. You have excess capacity now, but would you have excess capacity in 2 years?
Oh, okay.
So that's a conversation.
Planning for the future.
Yes, that's a conversation we need to have. And nuclear is not such that today you want it, today you get it. No, it takes time, it takes planning, it takes execution. Just the first phase has taken us 4 years to achieve.
So then I'll come to this question. What exactly did this first phase involve that it takes 4 years, an entire government's tenure to finish?
Okay, so nuclear is such that there are rules, regulations, standards you need to follow. So the International Atomic Energy Agency has come out with what we call some form of a roadmap that you need to follow. So there's it. First phase, you need to address the 19 infrastructure issues. When I talk about infrastructure issues, soft and hard. Grid being a hard infrastructure issue. So we talk about national position. What's the position of your government? What are the safety issues in the country? What is the safety culture of the people? What are the procurement laws? How is your nuclear law like? How is the radiation protection issues like? How are you going to handle waste? How are you going to handle the grid if you cannot evacuate the power? So there are issues that you need to deal with, or you need to assess the country. How is the ease of doing business? So you need to assess the country in all these 19 infrastructure issues and come out with what we call a program comprehensive report. Now, these are desktop studies. Even though they are desktop studies, they involve a lot because you need to generate documentation out of this.
That's true.
And then that documentation will then be used as a basis for you to make a decision. So when the International Atomic Energy Agency come into your country for what to call a peer review mission, what they are looking for are documentation that will allow them to see you've done the work, you know your strengths, you have identified the gaps, and you know how to address the gaps moving forward. So this is what we call a phase 1 or pre-feasibility study, which has been carried out, and it took us some time to get there, including actually narrowing down to what we call candidate sites that we can actually use in building a nuclear power plant.
We know that.
Come again?
We know where we are going to build it.
We know where we are going to build it.
Where are we going to build it?
It will be along the coast.
Yes, a very large stretch of coast we have.
Yes.
From Azim straight down to Qatar.
Yeah.
The question I'm asking is, where exactly will we build
So
it?
the president will come out or the minister will come out and announce it when we are going to cut the sod.
Why does it sound a bit problematic to you?
It's not problematic because we are living in a country where when projects are coming, individuals go and buy lands there and make the project problematic.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Or you are afraid that people will reject it if it's being built close to them?
For your information, for the information of the public, the people we are dealing with actually want the nuclear power plant. Because as part of the stakeholder...
I've never been involved in any... let's be fair, I've never participated in any referendum as a law-abiding citizen of this country that dealt with dealing with what they call
nuclear power plant.
A nuclear power plant. When did you get this general buy-in from the people?
I'm asking you, the hydropower plants, the solar power plants.
That was for now.
No, did you?
Yes. I'm talking about nuclear.
So
they didn't send signals to me in the first place.
In the first place,
nuclear, has history.
So, in every country, unless there is a need for a referendum, there's no referendum.
No, I'm just asking, how did you get a buy-in?
So the buy-in, I'm talking about the local area. So we are talking about sites.
We have identified the area.
We have identified the area. So we are talking about sites.
The region, right? Which region it will be in?
It will be along the coast.
Yeah, there are several regions, from Western straight down to
I will not want to take that out of the minister's sale.
Would it be in the central region?
It will be along the coast.
My father is from the central region. Will it be from there?
It will be along the coast.
I mean, you should be able to give me something that I can take on with so that people can...
It will be along the coast.
But you've already engaged them. So some people will know in this country that they are going to have
this country, but at least it will be localized.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
I mean, I sure should ask people to send me messages when they already have conversations about whether they are going to be the site where they will build this nuclear plant. But, I mean, it is a question I'm asking to that. And that question is also about whether it's dangerous to build and own a nuclear plant. Okay. First, let's start with, because when you say danger, we're talking about the people who live around it first.
Yeah.
Would it be safe for anybody to live in the vicinity, whether proximate or a little bit far from it?
Let me answer your question like this. We were in Japan for a scientific visit. Luckily, one of your colleagues was with us. And he saw a neighborhood that is built around a nuclear power plant.
Japan?
Yes, Japan.
The Hiroshima people.
Hiroshima,
Japan.
Nagasaki.
The
people who were bombed with the nuclear weapons.
They
are building nuclear plants, and we are here. We say we are afraid.
No, but I just wanted to. Maybe I used to it. So I'm just not sure why they will be the ones not.
Because that is the source of energy that you can get at a cheap cost to develop your economy.
Oh, it's cheaper.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
So it's dense. It's available 365 days in the year, 24 hours. For 7 days, within the week. There is no time the nuclear power plant is not running.
We'll talk about the cost, because you said it's cheaper, I like it. But is it safer?
It's safe. So if today I say airlines are the safest or is the safest way to travel, would you debate it?
Not traveling at all is actually the safest way to do so.
Oh, it's the safest way to do so. Yeah. But when you sit in and there is turbulence, how do you feel?
Oh, that's terrible, actually.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So, see, there are safety systems built within these things. And it's the same principles that we've built a nuclear power plant. So we have what we call defense in depth. So for every nuclear material, there's a barrier that goes around the nuclear material, and that barrier is also enclosed by another barrier. So there's defense in depth. So there are safety issues that are built within the nuclear power plant. I will tell you this, so we have generations of nuclear power plants. So you have what happened in Chernobyl, what happened in 3 Mile Island. Those are generation 2 reactors.
As in where there have been accidents related to nuclear plants.
Accidents related to nuclear power plant. So there have been 2 major accidents related to nuclear power plants. So you have the Chernobyl one, and you have the 3 Mile Island. Fukushima was not a nuclear accident, and the Japanese will tell you.
Oh, okay. The weapon part is not an accident.
Fukushima wasn't the weapon part. It was the nuclear power plant.
Oh, yeah.
So you had earthquake, you have tsunami. that swept away the various protective measures that are supposed to go with it, and it couldn't cool down. So you had a hydrogen explosion.
The coastal part of this country is also an earthquake-prone zone.
So
I've read.
You've read.
Yeah.
So you may want to check again, because there are areas that are much more stable.
Oh, I see.
But Ghana itself is kind of an earthquake-prone zone.
Yeah.
But we always design nuclear reactors to suit those earthquakes. Japan is an earthquake-prone zone. But they build their reactors to withstand earthquakes. So it's not that once it's an earthquake-prone zone, we can't do anything there. No. We can do some things there. That's why the engineering is very important.
Okay. You're talking about the safety. You talked about the environment where it's built, and you brought in the examples of where people have felt accidents have happened. And it is quite striking, right, that of all the fears that many have about nuclear accidents, is only 2 that are on record in this particular case.
Not, okay, you can say on record.
Yes.
Because actually that's what happened. These are the facts. There is no other nuclear accident that is reported elsewhere. Okay, so we have over 400. This is one of the most interesting things. The International Atomic Energy Agency knows where all the nuclear power plants are. So we have 400 and over nuclear power, 450 plus nuclear power plants operating worldwide, 2 in Africa. Now, in terms of how many are being built, over 50 are being built in Asia, Europe, the Americas, all over, except, so maybe now 2 in Africa. So in terms of safety, I think I'll go back to your safety issue and the people living around there. In terms of safety, I will stress again, nuclear is the safest power plants you will ever work in. So you working in a nuclear power plant, you living around the nuclear power plant is even much more safer than living elsewhere. So I give you an example.
I mean, you need to explain this one.
Let me give you an example. We eat cassava in this country, right?
I mean, see, at some point, you say living close to the danger is a safer point than living far away from the danger.
Yes, I'm coming. See, you see it as a danger.
Okay, yeah, of course.
Exactly the point. See, that's where you are coming from.
Okay, that's the point, yeah.
Exactly.
So if I disabuse my mind of that...
You will not see it as a danger, but you see it as a tool. Marie Curie said this, and I paraphrase, nothing in this world is made to be feared, but to be understood.
But she died of radiation.
Yeah, she died of radiation because she didn't fully understand it.
Oh, okay.
Because there are 3 things you need to do around radiation. You need to distance, time, and shielding. She didn't fully understand it. She tried understanding it. Okay, so these are the issues. Now, we have cassava in this country. We all eat cassava nicely. We live under the sun. We have banana in this country. We all eat banana. But if I tell you that there are cosmic rays from the sun, maybe you will not get out of your house again. But we walk under the sun with no fears. There are 7 lights that are emanated from the sun. They are all radioactive.
Now, I'm worried about this point because you are just basically driving people away from staying in the sun. I thought they said it gave us vitamin D.
Exactly the point. You see, there are benefits to the sun, to radiation, that nobody is talking about.
Oh, okay.
So today, you go to the hospital, you've broken your leg. They take an X-ray. That you are not afraid of.
Yeah, because it's to fix something.
It's to fix something. And we are trying to fix the economy.
With the nuclear energy part.
Yes.
But the question I think most people are interested in is, if I live close or a bit far away from it, am I exposed?
You are not exposed.
Am I exposed to the dangers that the next generation, my kid will be extremely,
dwarfed or something?
Something dangerous will happen to my child.
Okay.
Or we are going to have a defect in our family for good. Those are the legitimate questions that people are interested in.
We have a nuclear research reactor that may have the same effect, if that's what we are saying. I've worked in the nuclear facility for 12 years, going to my 13th year now.
Oh, okay.
I've known people, Professor Kaho Dems, who have worked, Professor Emeritus Akaho, my apologies, who have worked in the nuclear industry for God knows how long. They are fine. They have children. Their children have children.
I mean, they may be lucky.
They may, but so it's not just one in a lot. So you talk about a whole lot of people who have gone through the nuclear power or nuclear research station, they have retired. And their children are even working within the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. Most people in this country don't even know we have a nuclear research reactor in this country. Most people don't know. We have a research reactor that has been operating for 30 years. And with no incident. Ghana Atomic Energy Commission.
Oh, one more reason I should not be using that road. I mean, perhaps that would be safer, right? But it's not blown up before. That's the point.
That's where we need to go. We need to get to. No nuclear power plant will blow up.
No
nuclear power plant will blow up.
Never
will blow up. The reason why what you saw in Fukushima, or what that mushroom image that has been put in our mind, and whoever did that, I dove my heart out to the person.
It's a very clear picture, and the present deja presents to everybody when it comes to when you think about exploding. Nuclear. Yes.
So
let me see, when you're living very far from it, it will still get to you anyway.
And you
just have to.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
So there's it. There was a similar accident just recently in a fertilizer yard, or let me say a fertilizer barn, where there was such an explosion, that mushroom type of explosion. Everybody thought it was nuclear. It's not nuclear. I'm saying whoever placed that in the minds of people did a very good job.
The atomic explosion at the fuel station.
See, when you call it, I need you to qualify it, atomic junction explosion.
Oh, I see. I get the point. I mean, of course, we've reported it that way. So, yes, the explosion that happened at the fuel station at atomic junction. Yes.
So,
okay, yeah, I get the point. It sounded like it's
exactly the point.
One of those atomic nuclear plants that's been up in the air.
Exactly the point. So that is the issue. People are not understanding the issues. People are just taking it and running with it because it's hot cake. It's hot news.
All right. So now what I'm getting from you is that the fact that I may even live close to a nuclear plant does not mean I'll be necessarily exposed to it.
Yes.
And you say the nuclear plant will never explode?
Never.
Even upon a terrorist attack?
Even upon a terrorist attack. Is it A300 and 380 can even get close, implode around it, nothing will happen. It's
the airplane?
Built, yes. It's built to withstand that pressure. The nuclear power plant dome is 1 meter thick. It's built to withstand that pressure from that impact.
So what can make it explode? And I'm just thinking about what the possible risks are in this case.
So there are deliberate or what you call threats, either insider or external threats. And for a country, whether Ghana or any other country, you need what you call a threat analysis. And that threat analysis is done at the national security level, and there are mitigation measures to then stop those threats. So anything that will get close to the fuel, to expose the fuel, there are mitigation measures.
So some of you who may be close to that particular plant or working within the plant cannot deliberately, and perhaps you don't like government or you don't like some of the people or you are not in the right frame of mind, can cause accidents to this?
There is possible issue of insider threat. It's not just with nuclear power plants, even with banks, even in your institutions.
That's true.
So somebody can actually have something to do with this camera and say, hey, guys, let's get this camera out of the way, get a new one. Let's fidget with it and just do something with it. Yeah. It's an insider threat. So you need an assessment of the insider threat. So it's not just peculiar to nuclear, it's peculiar to every institution. And if Joy FM hasn't done it, I think it's about time you do an insider threat analysis.
Oh, I see. I'm sure.
And we can help you with it.
Oh, it's interesting to say we can help you with it. No, but my question then is still about people being safe or people thinking that nuclear energy is safe. I think that's the crux of the conversation. Yeah. We put up a question on Facebook and asked people to participate in whether or not Ghana should explore the option of nuclear. I mean, largely there were some positive comments, but some said, why nuclear? Why are you opening us up for possible attacks? And I'll be coming to that question. But some countries are moving away from nuclear power plants.
True.
Why are we taking on what others are rejecting?
So a country is moving away from nuclear power plants, not some countries.
Oh, okay.
So it's a country in the name of Germany that have taken a political decision. Please, let's take this very critical. It's a political decision. It's not a technical, it's not based on any technical assumptions.
Oh, okay.
It's because Green Party is in power and they are saying we don't want nuclear again. But this same Green Party is operating coal power plants. Isn't that funny?
Well, that's interesting. Anyway, yeah, coal appears to be...
So there is no moral balance in whatever they are saying. But other countries are going on building new nuclear power plants. I've mentioned UAE as a newcomer country. There are other countries that are building nuclear power plants, like a country like Belarus. Belarus recently launched 2 nuclear power plants. Okay, a country like Pakistan, last 2 years, launched another big power plant. You have UAE there already. You have other countries like Egypt that have signed on to build 4 nuclear power plants, and are building 2 now. You have South Africa that wants to build 2 more power plants down south. You have a country like Zambia that wants to build a nuclear power plant. Nigeria wants to build a nuclear power plant. So we are not doing this alone.
Okay.
We are not isolated in this whole journey. We have others that we can actually talk to and know how to go about.
Where are these 2 functioning power plants on the continent?
They are in South Africa.
Both?
Both are in South Africa.
Okay, that's interesting to know.
And wouldn't that explain to you why South Africa is where they are?
It's interesting, but that question, whenever, and somebody wrote about how movies portray nuclear power plants and they being sources of or attraction points for terrorist attacks, are we not setting up a very fragile state like Ghana for possible terrorist targeting in this case?
So it was important I asked you what you think if I mention a country like Pakistan.
Yeah.
The first thing that will enter your head is terrorism. But they have nuclear power plants that are working in a good condition. Even in Ukraine, those nuclear nuclear power plants are still working and they are still producing power.
Even under the attack?
Even upon all the attacks. So this is it. Nuclear power plant is not a certain technology that you can just enter, do whatever you want, and get out. That's why I say the defense in depth. Even out of the reactor core, where the power is produced or the heat is produced, outside, you need to go through so many barriers to just get to one important place. And unfortunately, maybe your colleague Israel is not here. He would have explained to us what he had to go through just to enter one power plant.
Okay. So he's entered one before?
Oh, he has entered one before. And he's still safe.
Okay, yeah. I just want to be sure who can avoid it.
He's still safe. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's one of the safest places. Now, if you are taking x-rays, if you are taking CT, or you have cancer, you say we are going to use radiation to cure your cancer. We have a lot of people that are undergoing radiotherapy. And they are okay. I think we are okay with it. Yeah. Now, when you work within a nuclear power plant, the radiation you receive is way below you going to take an X-ray.
Oh, I see.
Yes. When you live around it, the radiation you receive is what we call background radiation. It's radiation that is already in the environment. So you are not receiving anything extra from the nuclear power plant, and you are not receiving anything extra working within the nuclear power plant. That's what I'm saying. It's the safest nuclear or technology that you can actually work in and around.
So is that what you told the people who be living around this plant, and that's why they agreed?
Those are the facts. I give you another example. In India, they wanted to build a new nuclear power plant. You know, India has quite a lot of nuclear power plants. So they wanted to build a new one around the coast. And the fishermen said no. What was the main issue? The main issue was not with safety, because they've experienced safety before. They know what the nuclear power plant stands in terms of safety. The main issue was that it would drive the fish away.
True.
Now, what did the Indian government do? The Indian government took them to Canada and showed them how they are fishing in Canada. Now, there is it. When the water comes out of the nuclear power plant and is dumped into a large water body like the sea, it's 1 degree higher than what is coming into the sea. And fish love the heat. So they come around it.
Oh, so it may aid fishing rather.
Exactly. So it also paved way for the fishermen to have higher yield.
Oh, I see.
And they allow the plant to actually operate. So when it comes to safety, safety has never been an issue when it comes to nuclear. No.
So why is there still some brouhaha around this? So why is there a certain fixation with, no, it might just blow up. It might just cause a lot of trouble. Is it that you are not painting the true picture and that we may see for us if it actually happens? Or that's the reality people are ignoring?
So I would say it's the reality people are ignoring. Why? I go back to the accidents that have happened over the years. Mm-hmm. 2 major accidents. And we can actually explain why those accidents happen. And the build up in terms of safety that we've built on those technologies to get to where we are currently. So there is a preconception of people that they are not letting go. And unfortunately, they are passing it on to their children.
Okay, all right.
So in this country, I will ask you, you went through our education system. At what point did you actually encounter nuclear?
As in hear the words nuclear?
Not in nuclear technology or applications of nuclear. At what point in your education?
Not at all. I'm not sure.
Exactly the point. Because we are not bringing out the benefits of this technology into the public. We have been quite laid back. People are enjoying the benefits, but they are not talking about it. So many people buy apples along the road.
Yeah.
They go to other places and buy apple. I don't want to mention any particular name. What they have not actually find out is that these apples are already irradiated. They are not bad apples when they are irradiated. They actually get better because they are able to stay on the shelves for much longer.
Really?
Yes. So most of the things that are being brought into the country, they need to go through some form of radiation before they come out.
Not
to stay on the shelf.
Radiation.
There is no dangerous radiation.
Really?
Yes.
The exposure that they talk about, the dangers, the one that killed, what they call it, Marie
Curie, yeah. So if that's why I mentioned distance, time, and shielding. Marie Curie didn't understand shielding. She didn't understand time.
Okay.
So if I need to get close to a nuclear power plant, or if I need to get to a nuclear material or an irradiated material, there are things I need to get into. We have fully understand the technology. We have fully understood the technology as of now.
Okay. That's clarity, but let me bring this point in there. For many people listening to me tonight, yeah, it's okay. Now, it's not as dangerous as people make it look. So the danger part might not be the main consideration. But the why nuclear should come with something you mentioned earlier is cheaper. Why is it cheaper?
So we have what we call a long lifetime of nuclear. Current nuclear power plants operate for 60 years. And then you have an extension of 20 years, making 80. The oldest power plant is now 81 years plus. It's projected to go to 100 years. So you have this long lifetime. So if I put in money today, I may end up paying for that money within the next 21, 25 years. And I still have over 60 years to go, over 80 years to go. Basically, I've amortized the cost of the plant. So technically, I'm just using operational cost. Now, uranium is not used for any other purposes than for power or for nuclear power plant. So the price of uranium is very stable, relatively stable, than if you put it side by side to gas or other sources of energy. So the running cost of nuclear is cheap, such that when you have that long period of operational lifetime, you actually can spread it over all that years. And that makes the cost of electricity from nuclear very cheap.
So why haven't we done it all this while?
It's because of
when we were exploring other options, when we had doomsday for a very long time, why was our first option for a cheaper source of fuel not nuclear?
So, see, that's why I said nuclear, you don't want it today, you get it today.
Oh, I see. So it's not like a power bar that can be flown or brought via sea.
No, it takes time to plan. So if you've not planned for the next 10 years and it happens again, then you are going to go into that same situation that we had been into.
Okay.
So immediately it happens, then you hear people asking, atomic energy, what are you people doing?
Yes, of course. Why are you not giving us the alternatives?
Exactly, but then immediately they get out of the situation, it's like, we don't need you again. But we have learnt our lesson. That's why we have kept on from 2015 till now and have gotten to the first phase, or have gotten past the first phase, the second phase of the program. That when government decides to go, we are already ready for government. And true, government was ready to go, and we were ready. And that's how government made that announcement.
Yeah, so it's a point I want to come to now. So at what stage are we to getting the plant running today? Okay. Since you not tell me where the plant is going to be, at least you tell me when we are going to get the plant running.
Okay, so let's start from this. Mm-hmm. We didn't just get up and started doing this.
Yeah.
So you need energy planning. Mm-hmm. So we did this with the Energy Commission. Well, they are the custodian of energy planning within this country. The energy planning tells us that by 2030, we will need nuclear in the energy mix.
Okay.
Now, the update of the energy planning is even telling us we may need nuclear much earlier, but we can't do it. So what we are doing is we take from 2030 and work backwards.
Okay.
And say, okay, we have three-phase approach. We need to get to phase 3 at this time. We need to get to phase 2 at this time. We need to finish phase 1 at this time. So we need nuclear in our energy mix by 2030.
When are we starting the building?
So we start the building when we have finished the phase 2. That will take us about 4 to 5 years. We started 2021, let's say the first year. We just finished the first year.
Okay. All right. But have we selected who is supposed to build it for us?
So that's where the government now comes in.
Okay.
Because nuclear is not just like any other power plant, where Ray just goes and say, hey, guys, I think I need this power badge, or I need that. No. So it's government to government. So then the government, remember, we are talking about 100 years of operation. You need somebody that you can go with. You don't need somebody that you start the journey and say, and the person will say, I'm not sure I can go with you anymore. So we need a stable person or a stable country to do that. And that's what government is actually doing. We have given the report to government to study, and this was done by Nuclear Power Ghana, NPG. That's the owner-operator company that's supposed to operate this nuclear power plant, currently located at the Bui Power Towers. Okay. So they've done this work, and currently it's with government to make a decision on who it wants to go with.
Do we know when this will be done?
We are hoping by end of second quarter this year.
End of second quarter?
Yes.
So that's like by the end of somewhere July?
July, we should have. But again, it's up to government to make that. Government can take its time to make that decision.
Okay. So
if it wants
by choosing a vendor, have we chosen the technology we'll use?
So the vendor
is it inbuilt in that decision?
So the vendor comes with the technology.
Oh, okay.
So let me just backtrack a bit. In 2021, we did what we call the request for information from vendor countries.
Okay.
And we got quite a number of information from vendor countries. Now, these vendors, we have ranked them and have given them to the government to make a decision. But it's not just on the technology. It must also be based on foreign policy of the country, how is our interaction with that country and all that. It needs to be done. And governments may take its time in doing that.
Now, there's another question that's on the minds of many. I mean, this is what we're talking about, when is it likely to be ready and all of that. Between that time and now and the 2030, where it might be fully operational in the Republic of Ghana, are we likely to have any energy crisis? I'm asking why we don't need it as early
as possible. And again, if you want it early as possible, we should have started this 15 years ago. So whether we have energy crisis or not, I think is very much dependent on the Ministry of Energy and how it actually puts things in place. I'm saying this because we have an institution that does energy planning and knows the growth rate of our energy within this country.
Yeah.
So, and I know they are under the Ministry of Energy. So if the ministry is listening, the technical part of the ministry is listening to these people, I'm not sure we will have doing so in this country.
Okay, that's interesting. Of course, we've had it in times past, so of course, I mean, it's interesting that part. There's a question. I mean, so I did a query into ChatGPT and was labeling some of the many problems or people's thoughts about nuclear energy. And one of the ones you mentioned was to do with the waste control. That's a thorny conversation. We in the Republic of Ghana that cannot properly dispose of the chunk of our plastics and waste, can we be trusted to handle nuclear waste properly?
I always answer this question with the question. Yes. Let me ask this question. Do you know there are companies within Ghana that uses nuclear or radioactive sources?
Not an idea. I'm sure. Okay, no, apart from those ones that hospitals use actually.
Okay, so the oil rig, there are other manufacturing companies that use. When they finish using this is more like waste. Do you know we store waste in this country? We don't take it back to the country of origin.
Okay.
In this country, in a condition that is safe. So it's not that we've not done it before, we have experience in doing this. And waste has never been an issue when it comes to nuclear power plants. Never. People make an issue of it, but it's not an issue. I give you two examples. Again, I refer back to Israelite. And unfortunately, we were not allowed to take pictures, so he can't show pictures of those ones. Where he went into a waste facility and actually touched a cast where waste is stored. From a nuclear power plant.
Okay, I get you.
So it's not that we cannot control the waste. And what we call waste is actually not waste. What we call waste is actually known as spent fuel. Yes, there are waste when it comes to you enter the nuclear power plant, you need to wear some attire. When you get out, you remove it. Yes, it's waste. But these are very low-level waste. When you talk about high-level waste that people make so much noise about, we are talking about spent fuel. Spent fuel still has about 97% good fuel in there that we can extract and then put back into the reactor. So in terms of storing waste, from the over 400 plus and for over 60 plus years of operating nuclear power plants around the world, waste has never been an issue. The waste that has been produced will fill 2 football fields. And that is it. That is it.
The question that follows up on this one, not about when we are going to do this, about how we are going to do this, but there's a bigger question of, we might be desirous of doing this, but where will we get the money to do it?
Oh, yes.
I mean, we have a debt exchange program currently happening.
Yeah.
Yes, so we are hard up. I mean, we basically are in a very tight economic condition.
Yeah.
Where will we get the money to do this? Who funds nuclear plants?
Do we actually need this power?
Yeah, we do, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is we need to know where to get the money from, and there are ways of going about it. There's a power plant currently undergoing construction. It will be finished this year in Turkey, called the Kuyu plant. The Turkish government didn't put in a penny in that plant. It depends on how you structure the program. And we believe we structured the program so well that whoever is bringing the technology should also bring some industries to take part of that energy.
Oh, I see.
So there are ways of doing this. You don't always have money, or you don't always have to have money sitting there to make sure that you can buy a nuclear power plant. Ghana may not be in that position to do that, but Ghana is the most attractive place in the sub-region to put a nuclear power plant. And almost every country wants to do it. Why? Because then it becomes history, part of history, that we were the first to actually do this within this sub-region. So we have my board chair, Dr. Eni, will call soft power within this program. And we are bent on actually using that soft power to get the nuclear power plant to propel whatever agenda that we have in terms of expansion of the economy.
Is it clean energy?
Nuclear is the cleanest that you can ever have. Now, you have a system or a technology that in operation doesn't produce any carbon dioxide. Most of the times, nuclear is mixed with coal because they all have a stack. So with nuclear, you don't produce ash, you don't produce nitrogen dioxide, you don't produce sulfur dioxide, you don't produce carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide. So it's the cleanest energy you can ever have within your energy mix. And you ask, why is France saying that they have achieved their target for the, how do we call it, the NDCs? So why are they saying that? Because of their nuclear power plants that they have. They are producing clean energy all year round. This is the most cleanest energy that you can ever have.
Prof, we will leave it here. This conversation has to continue. I mean, yeah, I was an opponent. I'm now shifting towards a full supporter of it in the interim. I'm sure many people have gotten a brighter appreciation of it. The very interesting part is when he said living close to it may guarantee you more safety than living far away from it. Maybe I should move closer to atomic energy now. But many thanks to you for joining us for this conversation. And I'm sure you loved it and you have some clarity on Ghana's first nuclear plant in the offing. Many thanks to you also for joining us in this wonderful conversation. Prof, I appreciate your coming in the studio.
Thank you very much.